impression of Geno so far?
He's done some good things. He's a very talented guy, and he's just like every other quarterback I've ever had, that you have to acclimate to a new system. You know, he's acclimating to a new system. So, but he's very talented, and I have high hopes for him.
When we spoke to Ryan today, he was saying the base of your offense is sort of the same, but then a lot of it depends that you're adding on now depends on the personnel. How does that exactly work when you sit down and just literally go through the roster and then make changes based on that?
Yeah, well, we feel like that our offense is versatile enough to take advantage of what players you have. We're putting in the whole gamut, making these guys, stretching these guys right now to learn everything, try to learn a bunch of different positions, try to do a lot of different things. And that's one of the evaluation tools we have to see who can play where and who does what best. And then once you get pads on, that changes again. And once you get into preseason games, that could change again. So you just go through the whole evaluation process, and then you try to narrow down what you think your people do best and work the offense into those categories.
Chan, Fitzpatrick's obviously limited for now, but when he's healthy and training camp rolls around, will both he and Geno have an equal opportunity to be the starter, or do you view it like this is Geno's job to lose?
Yeah, right now Geno's the starter, and there's to me, Coach Bowles has said it. I say it. I think everybody said it. That's the way it sits, and that's the way we expect it to be. Unless something happens that you get an injury or something like that you don't foresee, that's how we anticipate it going.
So it's not going to be a competition?
Not going in, no.
Why not?
Why not? Because Geno's a starter.
I guess what led you guys to want to approach it that way? You know what I mean? Like, what did you see some things in him that?
Yeah. I mean, he's done enough good quality things that he's been here, and he's done enough quality things that he deserves the opportunity to be the guy. And we told Fitz coming in that's the way it was going to be. We didn't try to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. That's exactly how we told him.
So other than an injury, is there a way Geno loses the job, I guess, then?
Just like anybody else in the NFL, if you don't play well over a period of time, you could, but not in preseason, not in practices.
So he'll be the starter week 1.
Don't make me say, yes, but probably.
Jim, when you got the job, what did you do as far as studying Geno? The last 2 years, how far did you go back?
No, just last year.
Just last year.
Yeah, just last year. Every quarterback as a rookie has a tough time. Most all of them do. Very few have had a clean year. So it's better to watch the most recent things that he's done and to see how he handled himself and what he did. And so we just went back 1 year.
Clearly, something stood out to you. What impressed you when you watched last year?
He can throw the ball. He was making good decisions when it was clean reads, and so that's what you try to do is you try to make it clean reads for him. And so we evaluated how he threw the ball, how he handled himself when there was pressure, how he handled himself when things broke down, all those little things like that you see. He can make every throw in the book now. He can make them all. So you don't find many that can do that. So you take it, you try to find a guy that can do that, and you give him every opportunity to be successful.
How do you account
this spring to try to fine tune, and smooth out some of those things that have held him back a little bit? What are some of those areas where you feel like this is where he has to get to take that next?
It's hard to do that right now because he's learning everything. It's hard to get to a lot of those specifics. To me, you get to more of those. You talk about them, but you don't go out and work specifically on those things until he's got a good grasp of what we're trying to do. Once he gets a good grasp of what we're trying to do, then you can start talking about some specific things that you need to talk about. And your next question is, what are those specifics? And I'm not going to talk about them.
With that said, Chan, do you feel he's a good fit for your system? Is that the name of this?
I feel like the system will fit to him.
Jen, how do you counter the inconsistency? Because you've seen on film some really sharp moments. The last game he played, as a Jet last year, he played tremendous. But he hasn't been able to string together 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row. So how do you get that out?
Well, that is the plan, to get that, to get him to the point where he can do that. And there's a lot of different ways that you get that done, none of which is a small 20-second comment. It's a lot of things that go into it that you have to talk about, that you get involved with, as far as making sure he understands exactly what we're trying to do, who we're throwing the ball to, where the ball's going, and that makes you more consistent. And if we can do that, then I think we can help him be a more consistent football player. But I know we talk about quarterback because that's the way it is in the NFL, and really at any level. It's not just NFL. We talk about the quarterback. But if everybody else is more consistent, it helps him be more consistent. So the key is to get everybody on the same page.
Chan, do you just see Geno's ceiling just being much more, I guess, much higher than Fitzpatrick's? Is that why you seem to be, the coaching staff is all in on Geno? He's younger, higher ceiling?
I think you see an awful lot of talent there, and if we can get him to where he puts all that together, I don't know how good he can be. But to be honest with you, I don't know how good he can be. He can be pretty good though, before it's over with, if he can get it all together, and we can fit things that suit him the right way, because he is a very talented football player.
Jenny, non-quarterback question.
Thank you.
It's a deep receiving core, I think you have 10 or 11 guys. Are there any of in that group, other than sort of the guys at the top of the depth chart, Hurley, Decker, Marshall, that have stood out to you so far?
Not so far. They're all jockeying for position, and we haven't even seen Hurley on the field. He hadn't been out there, so it's hard to talk about him. But all those other guys have got a chance to make an impact if they can learn where to go and what to do, and if we decide that they can help us be a better football team, be consistent, then they'll make it.
What have you seen out of Bryce Petty early on?
He's very talented as far as throwing the football. He's got a lot to learn. He's a guy that understands the game. He's got some, I think people talk about intangibles. He's one of those guys that his confidence verges on cockiness. It doesn't slip over into cockiness, but it's right up there, which is what you want in a quarterback. You want him to have that kind of confidence. And I believe he carries himself very well. He knows he's got a lot to learn, though. He knows that. This is a totally different system, and it's a total different way of playing quarterback than what he's played, and he's got some work to do.
Jen, how much patience will you have with Geno? I know it's difficult to answer that in May, but if things get rough, at some point during the season, and you have somebody that you obviously trust behind him, would you be more apt to make a change, or is this season going to be about Geno?
I have a great deal of confidence, and I keep confidence in the guys that are playing. And if you ask for a timetable, I don't know a timetable. Who knows a timetable? I expect great things. I don't expect failure. I expect success. So it doesn't enter my mind about that kind of stuff. I don't even think about that. And I don't think any coach does. I think coaches anticipate the best. I mean, what kind of leaders would we be if we're thinking doom and gloom? But you have to sit there and anticipate that the guy's going to be very, very successful, and that's all I'm thinking about right now. I'm not thinking about anything else.
Shannon, was there ever a thought for you guys as a staff to having a competition between Geno and Ryan this summer, or was just that not really
No.
ever a serious thought?
No, wasn't a thought.
Why? He turned the ball over 41 times in his first 2 years, and I know you have to weigh what you have, right? You know, it's him and Ryan, you know, those are your options. What was it that you saw in him, really, I mean, that would lead you to not want to do the competition, to give him the job, really?
I think I answered that a few minutes ago,
Yes.
but I'll try again. I probably will say something different than I said it a minute ago, and then you all can say I contradicted myself. We saw a lot of talent on film. We saw a lot of promise on film. We saw a lot of things that made us think that he could eventually be a pretty good quarterback. So you want him. It's hard to have quarterback competition going into a season. And once we decided that he was the guy that we felt like could, be the best option at this point for us, that's the direction we went. And I think it's best if you do it that way.
Do you know when that decision was made?
No.
But you said you told Ryan, so it must have been before you traded for him.
Yeah. So somewhere before that.
Do you think the expectations on young quarterbacks in the first year or two are maybe too great, that there's an acclimation period required in a lot of ways?
Yes, very much so. Very much so. I think in this day and time, we put a great deal of expectations on young quarterbacks, and it's very, very difficult to play the position.
Do you hit the reset button on him because it's a new system, or do you view him as a quarterback who does have 2 years of NFL experience?
No, he has 2 years of NFL experience. That's one of the things that allows you to think that he has that, good upside, is because he has seen it. He has been in an NFL system. He's not coming straight out of a spread set offense and having that challenge in front of him. He's had to do some of the things that we're asking him to do.
From your experience, Jan, when do quarterbacks typically take that next step? You mentioned the first couple of years can be rocky.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's different for every guy. Some guys sit for 3 or 4 years. How long did Aaron sit behind Favre? I don't know.
Chin, was your first exposure to Geno when you took this job? I don't remember.
Yes.
I think you were out of Buffalo, right?
Yes.
So you really
Yes.
weren't familiar with him at all?
No.
When you were reviewing his games last season, was there a sequence or one particular sequence or a play in a game that you kind of clicked with you and said, this?
No, that'd make a great story, but it wasn't. No.
That's what we're looking for. Though.
Yeah, I know. But there wasn't. You just got to look at the whole thing and evaluate the whole thing.
Yeah.
Shannon, when you were thinking about taking this job, was that the players on the roster at that time, did those go with Geno, knowing that Geno's here, the quarterback, did that play any role into your decision?
No.
Here, knowing what you...
No, it doesn't. That wasn't part of it at all. I didn't evaluate offenses of anybody.
We'll do a couple more.
Coach, when you were evaluating the quarterbacks in this year's draft, did you still consider Geno a better option than either of the top 2 quarterbacks?
Boy, that's a good question that I am not going to answer. All of that is speculation. You don't. A bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. That's normally the saying I go with.
With such a crowded backfield, do you see the need of carrying a traditional fullback and having a tight end kind of assume that role, or is there still a place for a traditional fullback in your system?
There's still a place, but everybody's got to have worth on a team. You got to have a role, and you got to be able to do it well. So, we won't keep somebody just to keep somebody, just say we got a fullback. Everybody's got an important job.
Shan, as you considered Geno's first years of film and tried to put some of those struggles in context, how much did you look at the fact that has talent around him. Seems to be a lot better than it was the past couple of years. It's all in context, right? So I mean, is that something that you looked at and said, projecting how much better he can be?
Well, no. I think what you try to do as a football organization, which I think we have done a good job of, is improve your team at every position and create competition at every position. And I think if you improve at every position, then your overall team goes up. And every other guy, if there's somebody good next to you or out wide or wherever it might be, you become better because they're better. So I think it all complements each other, and I think it all helps.
Jan,
It's the last one.
how pivotal is it to have a speed dimension in the backfield? Obviously, CJ did really well for you in Buffalo, and he could, take it 80 yards at any time. You don't, at least it doesn't appear like the guys you have in the backfield right now provide that dimension. So how do you make up for that?
That's not that big a deal to me. I mean, I've had Emmett, I've had Bettis. Neither one of them are going to run 70 yards. So you just adjust to what you have. You set it up to where you become an execution-oriented offense and don't rely on the big play. You rely on being able, if you get one, great, but you don't rely on it on a consistent basis. And sometimes with certain types of people, with certain types of backs or something like that, you say, well, we're going to get one the next time. Well, you may not either.